What's up, guys? It's your main man, Leo Kelly, CEO of BCC TV. And today we are doing story time. I'm going to tell you, first of all, I'm in my garage. We're chilling out here. You know, it's a beautiful day, so just chilling, relaxing while my phone charge up before I go to the gym. And I said I'm going to go ahead and do this story time. And this story time is basically talking about our kids, recreation center, schools, public school system and stuff like that. My brother and I, we had a conversation today, and he was saying, hey man, I know you went and played basketball, you know, you traveled the world, you met your wife, you got your thing going, you know, in Tampa and Lutz, but why did you leave? Like, you had everything going for you. You know, you was working for the recreation center, you know, as a young kid, and everybody loved you, everybody cherished you. The kids, they called you Mr. Leonard, you know, all the adults respected you, and you were one of the youngest leaders in our city. You know, like you had it basically handed to you on the platter, like you were the next one up. You was the person that they were about to release the reins to. You know, everybody else was getting older, and you were the next one up. Everybody respected you. There was nobody else. Like, you were the only one that was going to take over, you know, everything when it came to the recreation and handling the kids, the food program, the teaching, the coaching, and all that type of stuff. You know, and he really was puzzled. He was like, why would you leave that? Like, you would have been making more money than anybody. You probably would have been the mayor or, you know, the head honcho in the city, you know, because everybody respected you so much. Like, you were honest, you know, and the parents love you, the kids love you, the mothers, dads, fathers, aunties, uncles, everybody loved you, and they loved how you dealt with the kids and stuff like that. And I let him talk, and he was just like, yeah man, why? I need to know why. It was just puzzling to me. You know, I was praying the other day, and I was like, you know, with so much chaos going on in this world with these kids and stuff, and the teachers and the preachers, and, you know, the different people taking advantage of our youth. And he was like, you were one of them ones that, you know, people respected, and that could have put an end to a lot of stuff that goes on. And I told him, I say, the reason why I really left, because it was handed to me on the platter. Like, it was set up for me to be the next one. You know, everybody, you know, was relying on me to make sure everything was going to continue. The program was going to continue, the food program, the mentoring, the teaching, the basketball, football, baseball, and all that. And I told him, man, I was like, I was young, you know. I was a young kid in a grown-up world, and the kids were young, so they looked at me as an older kid. You know, they didn't look at me as an adult. They just looked up to me as an older kid, like a big brother or something like that. So they kind of respected me more than they respected the adults. But my thing was that I saw so much go on within the recreation system when we travel, when we interact with other recreation centers and stuff like that. I saw so many of our respective adults, you know, and respective people taking advantage of the system, taking advantage not only of the system but of the kids and stuff. And as a young kid myself, I didn't know how to react to that. Like, being genuine and being an honest kid, you know, you try to figure out, like, when you see certain things, you like, should I tell, should I report it, or should I just keep my mouth closed and just keep doing what I'm doing? I have a job, and everything is going smooth. It's just that I seen so many things, man. I seen things that I knew wasn't right, when it came to financials, when it came to the actual donations and handing out of the food and stuff like that. I seen so many things going on that just wasn't right and wasn't handled right. You know, monies allocated that we got from different charities or government, you know, stimulus and stuff like that. I seen how they was handled, you know. And but the most important thing, or the craziest thing, is I saw how some of the other counselors reacted to kids, mainly the younger kids, like some of the girls or some of the boys. I saw how that was going on, and I'm like, it was weird to me, but it was kind of like none of my business because I was a kid myself. So, I did probably like every summer. I would go there every summer and I would work, man, and the kids knew me so well. But every year I would see different counselors come in and different counselors do crazy things with kids, to kids, using the food program, taking advantage of the food program, taking advantage of monies, a lot at first to go on trips and stuff. Like, I seen different things go on, and it kind of like put a damper on me wanting to stay in that industry, because I was like, this ain't what I'm about. This is not what I want to do, and I'm not a snitch. Like, should I go tell on these people got families, they got husbands, wives, kids themselves? Should I tell and ruin their lives? I was stuck between a rock and a hard place because I didn't know what to do. And the craziest thing was, some of the higher ups were some of the people I saw doing some of the things. So I was like, who do I go to? Who do I tell? Who do I go to? So when I used to think about, should I say something, or should I go to the actual kids and ask what's really going on, all I could think about was mind your business and keep moving. Mind your business and keep moving. Because a lot of those kids, I knew their parents. I knew their brothers, I knew their cousins, I knew their mothers, aunties, and stuff like that. Part 2 coming up. So a lot of those kids, I knew their families. I knew where they grew up. Some of them lived next to me, you know what I'm saying? So I kind of knew what they were going through. And with our recreation center, the kids that we would have, they would be young kids, man, but they grow up fast. Kids, they grow up fast. And they get bodies, they get little brains on them, little voices on them and stuff like that. And they start acting crazy. And, kids gonna be kids. But I just realized that we had some weak counselors. Like, they fell for it. Like, the counselors would always, if a kid flirted with one of the counselor would flirt back with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I even had kids, like young girls and stuff, try to flirt with me, and I'm like, hey, get your butt over there, go sit down. Like, I was always Mr. Leonard. Like, I would really like put a stamp on it or a stop on it. Not saying I'm stronger than most of those guys, but I always thought about the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, the uncles. I was like, man, I know this kid, I know these people. And instead of taking advantage of situations, what you do is you make good of a situation and you correct it. But we had some counselors that were weak, man. They were weak-minded, and they probably, when I was talking to my brother, I say, man, they probably had things going on in their household that they couldn't handle or that they were going through. So when they did come to work, they were looking for something or looking for someone to take advantage of. So, anyway, like I said, I knew those kids. And I knew they came from broken homes. I knew if a kid didn't have a mother. I knew if a kid didn't have a father. Like, I was in the neighborhood. And most of these counselors that we had, they lived within our neighborhood, but they lived outside our neighborhood. They was doing, a little better. So they didn't really put feet to pavement. They didn't really touch the kids every day in the sense of like knowing who their mother was, who their father was, and stuff like that. They were new people. Some of the old counselors did, but when we had new people coming in, they just didn't understand us or didn't understand the kids. So they were weak in that sense. Like, they're open to more things. So if a kid flirt with them, they're more open to reciprocate that flirtatious action, because they don't know the family, they don't know the mothers. They can't scold the kids and tell them, hey, sit down, be quiet, don't be like that. But since I did know some of the parents and stuff, if a kid acted a certain way, I would tell them, hey, when your parents come, like I would keep a note. When your parents come, I'm gonna tell them how you act. We're gonna have a conversation. So I had a lot of conversations with mothers, fathers, grandmas, most of them, because a lot of them didn't have mothers and fathers. A lot of them stayed with their grandmas or stayed with their uncles or their cousins and stuff. And the ones that really didn't have parents, those were the ones that were loose cannons. Those were the ones that was easily manipulated, and you seen them get taken advantage of a lot in that industry. So that's why when my brother was talking to me, I was like, man, I didn't stay around because of what I seen, you know. And I felt like that's what it was all about, and I didn't want to be involved with it. I didn't want to be around it. That's just not what I was looking for, and I wanted something better. And I was scared that I was going to bring the whole association down. I was going to bring the whole recreation thing down if I was to blow the whistle, you know. And some of those kids really needed the food. They really needed the attention. They really needed somewhere to go to school. They really needed that shelter. And that's what the recreation center brought. But it was just a few bad apples that really spoiled it. And I just told them I just didn't want to be around that. And I could have blown the whistle, but like I said, some of the people that were doing some of the engaging and doing some of the stuff were the higher ups, were the people who you would go talk to. So you like, who do I talk to? If I talk to my parents or my dad, I'm snitching, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ruin lives of other people, you know. So I always thought about the other people, but it was just, I was young, man. I was young. Like to this day, I kind of regret not talking or not speaking, because a lot of those kids that did get touched, a lot of those kids that did get assaulted, a lot of those kids that was going through some of the things they were going through, they ended up in jail. They ended up in prison. They ended up getting on drugs. They ended up doing stuff because PTSD is serious. And most of those kids are not gonna talk. They're not gonna talk. They're not gonna go to their parents. They're just gonna try to figure out a way to deal with it. It's almost like self-medication. And back then, there was no internet presence like it is. There was no Me Too type thing, no internet presence. So the kids didn't have a lot of outlets. The only outlets the kids really had was the recreation center, was the teachers, was the basketball, the baseball, the food, the movie nights, and all that type of stuff, you know. And back in those days, I even told my brother, back in those days, the parents, it was like kind of like during the crack, you know, epidemic. So a lot of the parents, they had their own thing going, man. It was doing drugs or selling this, selling that, or you know, they had their own thing going. So when the kids left the house, they left the house. Like the kids didn't check in. They knew what time to drop them off, and they knew what time to pick them up. And most of the kids didn't get picked up. They would walk to the center, and then they would walk home. So a lot of those kids back in the days raised themselves. That was a big problem, because a lot of those counselors, they knew which kids didn't have mothers or didn't have anybody really attentive to what they had going on, you know. So those were the ones eager to take advantage. And one of the biggest stories that I remember in the recreation center, and the kid now, she's actually successful. This girl is actually successful, but I'm gonna talk to y'all about this in part 3. Alright, yeah, part 3 of why I feel that you need to vet these counselors and recreation teachers and stuff like that. So anyway, it was this girl, man, this young kid, you know, beautiful young girl, man, and she was just the sweetest little girl, and her dad wasn't in her life, but her mother was definitely in her life. Her mother would actually drop her off, and she was a young girl, but she was built like a young woman. And when you seen her, she was so sweet, so nice and stuff like that, but you can tell her mother raised her properly, you know. And we had this one counselor, I'm gonna say Jay, that took a liking into her, you know, and he was like a ladies man or whatever. And I noticed it right away. I was like, dang, man, he's older and he's really taking a liking to this young girl. When I say young, I'm talking about 11, 10, 11. And he took a liking to this girl, and every time we would have split groups where, hey, y'all 15 are gonna go with Leonard, y'all 15 are gonna go with Jay, y'all 15 are gonna go. He made sure every time they broke off in groups, she was in his group. And I was like, all right, this one time. The next day, same thing. Next day, same thing. And I was like, wow. And remind you, I'm 16. These guys are 25, 30. You know, they're older. So I'm not really telling them what to do, you know. And they're not really telling me what to do, but they're my elders. So I kind of respect. I was a respectable kid, so I respected them. But I know a snake when I see a snake. So anyway, I noticed that every time we would break off in groups, he would make sure she was in his group. And we're out playing, we're at the baseball field, at the basketball course, these guys at the playgrounds. And I would see from a distance that he would be alone with her, like talking to her, like by himself while everybody's playing and stuff. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, why is he talking to her so much? I was like, he don't really know her family. He don't know her mom. He don't know, why is he talking to her? And after a while, I saw her kind of like engaging with him more, like she began to like him, you know? So he was actually putting game down on a young, you know, kid, but whatever he was telling her, it was working. So maybe like a month go by, and the mother comes in, and she said, hey Leonard, because she knew me, she know my family. She said, hey Leonard, can I talk to you? I was like, yeah, you can talk to me. She was like, has anything been going on here? Has my daughter been okay? I'm like, what do you mean? Of course she's okay. She's like, because she's been acting different at home. So whatever routine she had at home, she changed it a little bit. Or however she used to act, she changed it a little bit. And mothers know when you break routine. Women know when you break routine. Men, their sons, daughters, they know. So I was like, what do you mean? Like, she's like, no, I'm just wondering because she's been acting funny, not really talking to me, and like being closed off. And I was like, I'll pay more attention to her, and I'll watch her for you and make sure she's straight. She's like, thank you so much, da da da. So knowing that, see, he didn't know that she talked to me. So knowing that, I went up to him and I was like, hey Jay, that ain't his real name, but I'm just saying, hey Jay, is everything all right with so and so? He said, oh yeah, she good, man, don't worry about her, she good, I got her, she good. I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I got it, man, just, you know, worry about your thing, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, you know, a couple months more go by, and I noticed the girl didn't really talk to me. Now she would run, every time she came, she would run straight to him, you know, and almost like that was her daddy or her boyfriend or girlfriend or something, you know, like she knew him like real well, like he done put his work in. So you know how it is in recreation centers, man. Maybe like a few days later, the kids start talking. Hey, blah blah blah, it's messing with this and this is, and little young kids are fast, man. Like they have verbiage and they know stuff. Like this is how I learned that I was getting older, because I wasn't in that in crowd to where those kids were talking to me about it. They were talking amongst each other, you know, the young kids, because they looked at me as a counselor. So they was talking to each other. Oh, blah, 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 it's messing with Mr. J, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, da-da-da-da. And I hear these rumors. So I go to Jay. I say, hey, Jay, man, you hear what they... He said, yeah, you know what, them little kids so fast, they so bad, da-da-da. So anyway, maybe like a month go by, we shook it off or whatever. And as a kid, I'm not questioning him because he's my elder. He's older than me. So we shook it off, and probably like a month go by, and the mother comes in again, and then she says, Leonard, who is Jay? And I was like, oh, he's right over there. She passed by me and went straight to him and said, can I talk to you? And they went in the office and started talking and everything. And next thing you know, you hear screaming. You hear da 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 da, blah blah blah. She told me this. She told me that. She told me this. And the mother said, "You gonna hear from blah? I'm gonna call the police." So anyway, so she rushes out the room. Took her daughter, rushed out the room, and probably like an hour later, the cops show up. The cops show up to the recreation center, and now we all involved now, you know. So now the cops come in. they take all the counselors first, and then they get the head counselor, and they say, this is what somebody's saying is going on. We've already talked to the girl, we talked to the mother, we want to talk to each one of the counselors, and then we want to talk to blah 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 Jay. So the cops get us all. They talk to everybody, all the girls, they talk to everybody individually. And part 4 coming up. All right, part 4. So how you doing? So now the cops got me in the room, and they come in and they say, hey, how you doing? How do you like your job? How long have you been working here? How old are you? You look pretty young to be a counselor, blah 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 blah, and all this type of stuff. And have you seen any abnormal activity between your co-worker and this young girl? And I was on some like, nothing out of the blue. It's just she's always in his group, da 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 da. You know, we break up into groups daily, and she's always in his group, so he's like her counselor, her teacher. And then the cop was like, so why is she always in his group? Like, do y'all mix the groups up so that every counselor can use the kids? I said, yeah, we do. We actually do. But for some reason, she's always in his group. Like, she liked going with his group. And they're close. Like, he knows her, da da da. And he was like, are you sure about that? I was like, well, he's been her counselor for the past year, and you know, they got close. You know how kids are, da da da. So he was like, but have you seen anything irregular or anything crazy out of the ordinary that you might think of? They're flirting with each other, or he likes her or she likes him? I was like, nothing out of the ordinary. I just know they're close, you know. And you know, every time we have a split within our groups, she's with him, and that's it. It's all right, thank you very much. If you can think of anything else, da da da. So anyway, they talked to every counselor, and nobody seemed to recognize anything, but I'm the only one that kind of saw it. Like, I actually saw what was going on, but I'm a kid and I recognize stuff. These older people ignore that type of stuff. So anyway, after that, you know, probably maybe like 2 hours later, they were talking to Jay, and probably like 2 hours later, he was walking out of the office in handcuffs. And when they walked him out, they kind of like perp walked him out, and the mother was out there, you know, chanting like, yeah, that's what you get, and had the daughter there, and she was covering her face, and she was embarrassed and stuff like that, and crying and all this stuff. So it comes to find out that he was having sex with her on campus. Like, while we would break up in groups for hours at a time or whatever, she would say she had to go to the bathroom, and no kid can go to the bathroom without a counselor walking them to the door, standing by the entrance to the recreation center, and the bathroom's inside, let them go inside. So come to find out, he's been going into the bathroom. And mind you, when we have a play day or whatever, all 45 kids, 15, all 45 kids are out. We're way out in the field, so the recreation center is empty. The only people might be in there if somebody's cleaning up. It might be a janitor in there or something like that, but for the most part, there's nobody in there. So come to find out, he was having sex with the girl, having relations with the young girl for almost like 6 or 7 months, and he ended up getting her pregnant. So I was blowed because I was oblivious, because I'd never seen him go to the bathroom with her or whatever. Because usually what I do is when kids have to go to the bathroom, I pair them up in twos. I say, hey, you go with blah blah blah. Like, I never take my eyes off the group, you know. So I would send 2 kids together. Our thing was, you don't let nobody go to the bathroom by themselves. That's what it. You don't have to go with them, but you don't have to let them go by themselves. You split them up in pairs and do that. I would see 2 girls who need to go. I was like, hey, you and y'all go together. Hurry back now. No. You know, watch each other back. So, for 6 months, I felt crazy, because I was like, I can't believe he did all of that right under our noses. And I was blowed that he would do whatever he did with her, and they both will come back. You know, let's say 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, and they would both come back. Like nothing happened, all normal. And then I'll see her happy and laughing, and see him being a counselor and doing things, and I was just blown. And the crazy thing is that on our local television, they did his court thing on on TV. You could see it. So he actually told them that you have no witnesses saying that it was me. It could have been her daddy, or it could have been this, it could have been that. She's lying. Ask anybody. Nobody ever seen da da da. And back then we had no cameras. We had no cameras or nothing. So he said she was lying, da da da, and it could have been her stepdad or whatever. And then the mom was like to the daughter, basically saying, "Are you sure it was him? Did your stepdad da da da?" Come to find out that the stepdad was messing with her too, but the counselor ended up being the father. But this girl had learned so much sexual activity from home with her stepdad, because her dad wasn't in the picture, and then she come to the center and brought that same energy there and put it on him. Not saying it's her fault, but she had that same sexual energy and he took advantage of it. Who knows what he was going through, but he took advantage of it. And hey, I blame him solely for being an adult, and he should know how to act and be strong and be smart and not do that. But that was a situation. But to this day, man, the girl is successful. She has his kid, the guy kid. She has probably like 3 or 4 more kids, but she's successful, man. She's an entrepreneur. And I lost track of that story of what happened with the kid and the guy in jail. I don't think she talked to him. I know she wrote a book about predators and stuff like that. So maybe her book is talking about him. And I do not want to out her or out him, so I'm not going to tell you where the book is or anything like that. Just know we got to vet guys. We got to vet people more often. Part 5 coming up. Part 5 of why we gotta vet these counselors at these recreation centers, these schools and stuff like this. So anyway, that whole situation got out of hand, and me knowing that I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. I wanted to just move away. Even though I know everything would have been handed to me on a platter, because I played by the rules, I just seen too much, and from the outside looking in, it just seemed like it was too chaotic. It seemed like it was too PTSD-ish, and I just didn't want to live around that, be around that, be involved with that. When you have cops coming to your center asking you questions and trying to scare you and telling you can go to jail for 20 years and 15 years if you don't tell and all this stuff, like, it really put a battery in my back to leave that situation. If I wasn't so young, I probably would have been brave enough to stick it out, and I probably would have said something to the counselor. Like, it probably wouldn't have got that far, because I probably would have went up to him and said, "Hey man, listen, this girl needs to be over here with these people. You need to stop doing what you're doing," But I just felt, being so young, that I have no say. But in all actuality, I had a lot to say. I could have said something, because I was one of the most respected counselors. When the parents came to talk to people, they came and talked to me, because I lived in the hood. I lived in the neighborhood, and they knew me, and I was a familiar face. So the parents actually felt comfortable with their kids coming there because of me. Even though I wasn't a part of the hiring process, like I don't know these people they hired. These people just new people coming from different walks of life in different areas. So they didn't live in the hood. They just came to the hood but they wasn't of the hood, so they didn't know how to react to hood kids and hood situations. Because one thing about kids, man, like, kids get fresh. If kids like you, they get fresh. Especially kids who see stuff, man, in their home life or on TV and stuff like that. they get fresh, and then you have these kids, these boys that look grown, and they're young kids, these girls that are voluptuous and all this stuff, and they're little kids, they grow into their body so fast, and you have these weak counselors, these weak men, these weak women who don't know how to act and how to control themselves. So that's why I say, when you have a situation like that or facility like that, you have to vet these people thoroughly. You have to know their background. You have to do research, man, because these people can have mental problems. They can have PTSD. They can be going through things in their home life. You never know. So that's why I said, if you own any type of facility like that, or if you are in the hiring position, you have to vet them properly. That's why I did want to be like a general manager or some type of AD, like a director, assistant, a director, to where I'm in control of the hiring process and the vetting process and the speaking to people. I know the questions to ask, man. Like, when it comes to grown-ups dealing with kids, you know what I'm saying? Because it takes a special person to deal with kids and know how to deal with them thoroughly, how to deal with them properly, especially when you have another grown-up come in and their mind is not there. Like, they're not thinking that this is somebody else's kid, this is somebody else's daughter, son, brother, cousin, granddaughter, niece, nephew. Like, when they don't think like that, they're selfish and they think sporadically and they act on impulse. But when you have somebody that come in there, as I was as a kid, I'm thinking, dang, man, this is somebody's kid. We're going to treat them great. We're going to make sure they're successful. We're going to get them through. We're going to feed them. We're going to teach them. We're going to give them the knowledge, like I was on that. And you have to vet these people better, man. We have to protect our kids, vet these people better, and make sure the research is done on background checks. Like, don't just hire somebody because you need somebody. You have to do the background check, and then after you do a background check, do another background check. Just think about it. What if your kid's in that situation? What if your nephew, your niece is in that situation? Would you want the person that's taking care of them to be vetted? Would you want them to have somebody who have the experience, have the knowledge, somebody who actually care about the kids? So anyway, man, that's my story. That's my story time, guys. We'll have a lot more, but I just wanted to talk to y'all about that, man, because the kids were on my heart, and my brother was talking to me about that. He was praying and just asking me why I never stayed back home and took over the whole facility and, helped with the kids and stuff in the program. So that's my story time, man. This is Leo Kelly, CEO of VCC TV. I hope y'all have a great day, and if you don't remember anything I tell you, always remember this. Love you.